Hi everyone, welcome to another Facebook Live here at 8 Letters Bookstore and Publishing. This is your host and book curator, Cindy Wong. And today we have a very special guest. Well, as always, right? We have the author of Bobby Black, the Great Warlock of Great Britain. So we're having our night, also known as Romel Ortega. Okay, for today, we'll talk about how he published his book with a UK publisher. Okay, actually, this is not originally published by Eight Letters. Okay, this book, Bobby Black, is a very thick book, as you can see here. Um, is originally published by Shieldcrest UK. So, well, before I put R Knight or Romel on the screen, let me just read a little bit about him. Okay, so, all right, here we go. Romel Ortega, or R Knight, is a graduate of University of Santo Tomas in the Philippines. He also has a master's degree from University of the City of Manila. And during his college days, he frequented the UST library to read English literature to broaden his knowledge. In 2002, he was then diagnosed to be suffering from bipolar disorder. In his struggle with the illness, he realized that there are realities which are not readily available to normal people from that point. And from that point forward, he takes the world with a spiritual lens and is able to write books to share his experience and viewpoints. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me call on R Knight. Hi.
Hello. Hello, Cindy. Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ayun, so this is R Night, and we're launching your book for the first time online here. So, Bobby Black,
Yeah,
ayan. Yan, yan, yan.
I'll be black.
Ayan, it has about 400 pages. Ang kapal, grabe. Para ako nagbasa ng Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire. Yung ba yung pinakamakapal? 400 pages din yun. 'Di ba? So, okay. So, Romel, um, is it okay if I call you Romel or do you prefer na I call you RR?
Since we are in the Philippines, you can call me
Romel.
Romel. Romel
Okay.
Ortega.
Okay, Romel Ortega. So, Romel, you mentioned earlier habang nagchichikahan tayo na this is not your first book.
Correct.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. And like, can you walk us through how did you did you approach Shieldcrest? You know, this UK publisher. How were you published by them?
After finishing the two books, previous two books, uh, we look for publishers. We look here in the Philippines, but we cannot find, and we do not know them. Uh, then, eight
Mm-mm,
letters.
mm-mm,
So we search on the internet as usual. We have the
mm-mm,
net to to run us through sa mga publishers.
mm-mm, mm-mm,
We get into the first two books. We get into sa German publisher,
mm-mm.
and then but also we submitted it to Shieldcrest.
Okay.
At eventually sabi nila gusto nila i-publish yung first book,
Mm-hmm,
na-publish na sa ano sa we call this sa isang publisher. So
mm-hmm,
I told them that we have another book coming, and I promised them this Bobby Black is
mm-mm,
really for them because it's imagined in Great
mm-mm,
Britain, something like that. So
mm-mm.
they waited, and then eventually we contacted them, and the can I say the publisher names? I
Yeah,
mean,
yes, of course. Okay lang.
yeah, the Lay Stevenson, the
Mm-hmm,
director, no, uh, told us na he can publish the book, of
mm-hmm,
course, but there are some finishing touches which I have to do.
mm-hmm.
So we also ask them for the editorial things. We do
Uh-uh.
the proofreading, but still we know high standards ng mga UK publishers.
Mhm.
So, that's how it uh, tinapos ko yung book siguro mga 6 months, then another 6 months na babalik-balik yung manuscript sa
Mhm.
email to us, to them, para ma-polish talaga siya.
Mm.
Eventually, nung dumating na yung right time, I think it's Lay who, of course, sila yung nagde-decide na
Oo.
this is the right time to publish it. So they publish it na rin niya. We're so happy, no, na
Mm.
na-publish siya sa UK.
Mm. Ayun. So sa UK muna siya lumabas at hindi sa Pilipinas.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I'm happy with what happened to the manuscript.
Mm, mm. Okay, okay. So, was it your intention all along na, okay, I'm going to approach an international publisher for this book? Because, of course, with when I read this, it absolutely deserves an international audience. So, yun ba yung intention mo from the beginning?
Yes, that was the intention from the beginning. Is
Mm.
to make, you know, included dito sa book na merong dedication kay J.K. Rowling.
Oo nga,
I think
nakita ko nga
yeah,
yun.
yeah. Uh, makikita mo if you have time eventually, no, makikita mo yung evolution ng book. Meron ako mga series of copies ng manuscript.
Mm-mm.
So, at least tatlo aside from dun sa emailing, no, na
Mm-mm.
they will it will show na iba siya sa nagsimula, iba rin siya natapos. Ganun kahigpit yung UK publisher. No?
Ah,
To tell you the
okay.
truth, dumaan ito sa publisher ni J.K. Rowling. Tinanong nila.
Oh my God. Oh
Yes,
my
yes.
God. Kaya pala. Okay. And then, okay, sorry, go ahead. And then, anong,
Uh, Ganun sila kataas yung standards nila sa libro.
mm,
And I want it that way din.
mm, oo, ayan. Konti lang yung naging copies natin during the MIBF, unfortunately. So, you know what, guys? You can still get a copy of this for only, nandito yun, sa bookstore namin, for only 990. So, yun. Dahil nga 400 page siya, and take note, it was edited and published by a UK publisher. So, pretty I'm sure 100% sure that the quality is there, and um it's almost like reading a Harry Potter book, a fantasy book from the UK. Okay, so ayan, so yeah, so for only 990. So may mga disclaimer dito, meron ding dictionary, para hindi rin ganun kahirap maintindihan yung book. Like yung places and some characters, yung Maastricht Kingdom West, a fictional place in Great Britain which is home to a higher learning for wizardry. So you created your own map. You created your own world.
Of course, there is imagination included. But
Mm-mm.
as you would know, I studied in UST.
Mm-mm. Yep.
It's a university belt. So you can imagine
Uh-huh. Yeah.
what's with the university. But of course, there is magic and sort of sinister darkness,
Mm-mm.
something like that. So that's
Mm-mm.
how you imagine it. And of course, since Great Britain is in the west, that's
Mm-mm.
why it's Maastricht Kingdom or Kingdom West. Yes.
Oo, ayun. Ikaw ba medyo nalilito ka na rin sa dami ng mga creations dito? Like, syempre may iba na hindi based sa reality, but then may iba naman na, very much like from your own imagination. Di ka ba nalilito, or it's all in your heart?
Um, in my writing, as much as I want not to offend.
Mm-mm.
That's why if you can, if since you have read it, you will see or you will learn that the enemy is actually Lucifer,
Yeah, oo.
not a certain person or that exists, something
Mm-mm.
like that. Oh, of course, there are antagonists that I name, but the real enemies in this, the bad guys, are Lucifer and other bad angels. something like that.
Mm-mm. Ayan. So, pwede bang basahin ko lang to our audience yung blurb nitong Bobby Black just in case they missed it. Okay. So,
Sure, sure.
okay. The four black books of the wizarding world are hidden in a library. Yet they knew where their loyalty lay. Bobby Black and his family of wizards have tamed the living books to reveal to them their contents and their meanings. But the War of the Wizards in Great Britain made an abrupt change to Bobby's plan. They, together with his House of Wizards, were defeated. His decision was to leave this country for a while and to go to the south of the globe, to Southeast Asia. There, his group encountered the snake of the old world, Lucifer himself, and they battled the devils for possession of a great deposit of treasures in Solotov Cave, half of which were left by the British in Southeast Asia in the 18th century. Ayan, o 'di ba? So, ang kaibahan lang dito, of course, like one of the advantages sa pagbabasa ng book na 'to is that it covers Southeast Asia, nagpapalit-palit ka ng location. So,
Yes.
yes. Bakit? Why is it so important for you to cover that? Kasi pwede namang magstay lang sa Great Britain, 'di ba?
Um, yes. Tama rin yung ano, pwede nga magstay sa Great Britain. But I really want to make this, or at that point, no, yung ginagawa ko siya, maging international yung view. If,
Mhm.
since Harry Potter is also inspiration, no, is an inspiration
Mhm.
dito. Unlike them, they concentrated sa isang lugar sa kanila eh.
Mhm.
But I want to include China,
Oo nga.
Japan. I think you have read it.
Mhm.
Japan and Nepal even,
Oo, oo.
and India.
Ibang country. Oo.
And at the same time, if you read again sa book, nakalagay dun kung sino yung mga students nila eventually eh.
Mm.
Yes, they are, hindi tayo, ayaw natin maging racist in some sense eh.
Oo.
We want to have an inclusion ng
Mm.
mga tao.
Mm. Yeah. Right. Okay. So yeah. So that's a good reason. And well, okay. I should stop. I should stop citing something from Harry Potter. Okay. But let's focus on your book.
Yeah,
Kasi
sorry.
what I want to also highlight to the audience, yung mga disclaimer na nandito. Like for example, you did mention the indigenous tribe in Southeast Asia. So yeah, uh, yeah. So do you think na no na well, okay, let me just read it to the audience just in case, no? Kasi para malaman din nila like what I'm referring to. So it says here, hindi ko nababasahin lahat. There are
Sure.
mentions of an indigenous tribe in Southeast Asia. It is out of respect for and awe of their way of life and their seemingly pristine condition. The author has not encountered anyone who suffers from depression from their tribe. There must be something that keeps them from this city life's malady or depression. The mountains and the forest where they are located can be said to have brought them their resilience against diseases. So, putting this disclaimer here, was it Shieldcrest advice or it is your own initiative? Na parang okay, parang hindi nila maisip na.
Yes. Uh, at first, it's the Southeast Asia was pertaining to Philippines,
Mm-mm.
but I wanted to disguise the Philippines, so I use another name for that.
Mm-mm.
And then yung mga tribes, actually I'm from Palawan eh.
Mm-mm. Okay.
They have maraming tribes doon eh. And
True.
some of them are my friends.
Mm-mm.
So ayoko naman sabihin na diretso na sa Philippines sila. So I just said
Mm-mm.
Southeast Asia. But they are in Palawan right now.
Mm-mm.
Sa akin yon, ano, disclaimer ko
Mm.
talaga yon.
Oo.
Ayoko
Okay.
makakita ng tao. And I think accepted naman ng Shieldcrest na gano'n.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Like, is it important for you na mabasa rin to ng mga Pinoy kahit naman kahit na intended audience mo talaga dito is international?
Yes, kasama naman tayo sa international. I mean, yung
Mm-mm. Oh
mga
yeah, of
Filipinos,
course.
yeah, of course.
Mhm.
So, I want them to read it as well.
Mm-mm.
Actually, if you scan more dun sa historical background, yung 1762
Mm-mm.
at saka si Simon Anda Salazar na pagpunta ng Great Britain sa Southeast Asia, it pertains to the Philippines. Na-capture nila
Okay.
yung Manila at Cavite at that time.
Mm. Hindi Palawan, but okay. Oh, I mean, okay, that's a good trivia for our audience to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Um okay, so okay, kailangan talaga mabasa 'to ng mga Pilipino, no, from around the world. Marami namang Pinoy na I'm sure like would appreciate this book. So, when it comes to your pen name naman, like R. Knight versus Romel Ortega, what do you think? Do you think you have to you have to keep both? Kasi syempre confused din, 'di ba? Like R. Knight versus Romel Ortega. Which one would you likely to keep?
Romel Ortega, of course.
Okay.
Okay.
Ano ba yung ibig
Um,
sabihin ng RR?
Romel Redondo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Ayun.
meaning of RR.
Mm.
Yeah, Knight, since it's Great Britain and they are the ones na
Mm.
meron mga lords, knights.
Mm.
So I use the surname Knight.
Mm. Nice. Okay. Pakita ko lang ulit. Ito yung book, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby Black, The Great Warlock of Great Britain. So this one's designed by Schildkress too?
No,
Mm-mm. No.
yung back sila may gawa niyan eh. Pero
Mm-mm.
yung front, Filipino yan na artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so happy, no? Yung Filipino artist. At ang alam mo pangalan ng artist, should
Ano?
I mention? Sana
Okay lang, sure.
kailangan, no? Robert Ortega.
Ano ba naman
Na,
ang coincidence na yan?
hindi yung artista.
Okay. Akala ko. Okay, okay. So, ah, akala ko kamag-anak mo kasi Ortega din. Or
Yeah, yeah. This is a
kamag-anak
relative.
mo.
Pero
Okay.
kasi meron tayong kilalang Robert Ortega eh.
Mm, mm.
Ang artista, di ba?
So, hindi
But
naman.
hindi naman. Artist din siya.
Or,
Visual
okay.
artist. Yeah. Tapos,
In
yung,
fairness, he did a great job. 'Di ba?
yeah, yeah.
Ganda, no? Ayan. So, ayan, kumikintab pa. Kasi, by the way, kapag printed to ng 8 Letters Bookstore and Publishing, we use a matte cover and para siyang paano ko ba i-describe? Um, hindi siya matte eh. Parang may roughness and smoothness. Balanced. Combined. Okay. Okay. Sorry, Romel. Ikaw na, siguro this is the best time for you to read your favorite
Chapter.
chapter.
Sure,
Okay. So,
sure.
okay. Game. Ready na kami.
Yeah. Usually, I read in silence, no? But this is
Mm-mm.
not really the first time. I've read some books to my nephews and my
Mm-mm.
children before. So this would be reminiscing of those times. No? So let's begin.
Yes. Ready
Yes.
na kami.
Chapter 2. Bobby Black, the Grand Warlock of Great Britain. Autumn season and the four black books. The leaves of the trees outside of Bobby's place are already falling, and only the connecting branches and some small plant joints can be seen. There are from time to time some forms of snow that fall from the sky, and the air is already colder than usual. The lonely atmosphere is already in the offing, as the winter is near. It has been quite a while since the meeting. Bobby could not stay in the basement for long, but now lives at the ground floor of his home. Outside, Devon and Mokoy are so alert that they are dreaded by other wizards who are prowling the area. They know Bobby's power when it comes to the wand. The two animals are more guards for him. They also his eyes to the outside world through their own eyes and his silver red fan. It is still autumn when he decides to go out and visit the secret Galbanor's library, half a mile from his place of residence. His long strides are not hurried as he walks. There he sees friends from Maastricht and many others who grew up with him in London. It's perilous time for us, friend, says one to Bobby. You should not be coming out from your home without company. The person advising him is Elvin Cool, an old classmate from the academy and half gumball, half magical person. But in all of his being a gamble-blooded warlock, he wants to stay with the Galbanor's clan. He sports a black long-sleeve sweatshirt in shades of dark blue. Elvin Cool has shorter blonde hair than the rest of the members. To pacify his friend in the secret Galbanor's library, Bobby points to his pets that are inside his coat pockets. He made them so little that can be carried wherever he goes. I didn't think that near but far enough to protect me like in my home. I brought my pets with me as my physical security. Then he whispers to his friend, I have the keys from Cramage. It is enough to silence Elvin and for him to continue to look for the four black books. The four black books are not the usual ones that can be seen in the Western world of wizardry. They are of Far Eastern origin. They used to be thought in the countries like China, Japan, and India, the wizarding countries of the Far Eastern world. The four books are originals from the Far East. As now, as how they came to be in the Western world of wizardry and magic, only the Galbanors are in the know. Even the Endeavor's clan has not much knowledge about the four black books. Could this be the magical knowledge that will tip the balance in favor of the Galbanors clan? To that question, Bobby wants to find the answer. The library is spacious and full of books. The shelves are combinations of dark woods and black metals that came from the wizarding world of China. Bobby approaches the young lady librarian at the dark wood table behind the counter. She has been drinking a few pints of beer with tea and lemon juice from the east. He then rotates his wand to perform the Trinity Wave. The librarian realizes that very few wizards know of such Trinity rotations. She looks at him with her eyes asking questions. At first, he could not utter a word, but eventually he is able to say, Yeah, they are both gone. The two then look at her large beer mug of 800 milliliters that is still showing froths at the top, while the yellow color of the beer is still bubbling. The mug has the green parrot in a scarlet square frame as embossed design on the glass. An Endeavor's beer mug on a small black circle placemat inside the Galvanor's clan library? No problem with that. She is a pure-blooded Galvanor. The librarian knows which family Bobby belongs to his father and to his uncle Dean Campbell Black. The Trinity waves or rotations are only taught to students of magical constitution. They were never taught to gambles, though they knew of magic and knew magic. The simple reason is that they cannot comprehend the power of it. Gambles, when they encounter Trinity waves, feel cheated. It is not simple, though, to start with. They would need concentration and advanced learning in magical abilities. They also need to read many books before they learn the Trinity rotations. The rotations are so effective that the skill is being taught in the Far Eastern Wizardry as advanced learning and for mastery. But unknown to many in Western Wizardry, it is always mentioned to them in elementary teachings about magic, but very few take it seriously. The two wait and then four books that were deposited at the library are delivered to them. Hmm, murmurs the lady librarian. She stands around 5'7" and wears dark clothing, which is a standard of the clan. Finally, she says, Deposited, eh? Yes. These are deposited here by my great 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 grandfather around 300 years ago. And from time to time, we visit this library to learn about the contents of these books. It was said that the books came from the wizarding world of China, Japan, Tibet, Nepal, and India. Is it true? Asks the librarian. She wants to know the history of four books that she so seldom holds. She knew of the Trinity rotations, and that very few had perfected them. That she can only see the books when the blacks would come to the library and ask for them. Bobby looks at her and then says, the legends are true as they pertain to these books. They do indeed come from the far eastern world of wizardry. But there are truths about the books that are not listed in themselves. They can be found in Egypt, in Greece. Besides, it's not enough that you know the Trinity rotations. You must also be able to know the symbols and other words associated with it, like tris. Bobby did not complete the last word, and the librarian does not know the word. The Black family does not, as a policy, share it with non-family members. But what he needs to say is tris megistus. This word they cannot share with just anybody, even with the other wizards. Bobby has a particular place in their library at the northwest side, with a spacious table near certain kinds of books on the shelves. He stays for hours in the library while reading the four books and cross-checking them with each other from time to time. When the night has already fallen and nearly past near dawn, he decides to leave and checks out the black books. But before he could go out, a fairy-like creature, a diwata, speaks to him and says, Sir, the books need caring. Bobby replies in affirmative in a respectful manner. Yes, of course, my dear friend. The creature then points his long nose and wide eyes at the protective covers of the books. They are leather covers with a gold metal case. The protective covers are not that heavy, but they will surely get the attention of those who will see Bobby carrying them. But that's not a problem for wizards like him. He points his wand upwards and then makes the Trinity rotations and pronounces the word minutia. The four books and their protective covers then become so small that they again fit into his left pocket. Thank you, my friend, for reminding me of the need to protect the books, he says as parting words. It takes him nearly 10 minutes to reach his place. It is not that a long walk, but a good one for him, who also needs exercise. Even wizards need exercise. But of course, not that exhaustive. We use more our minds than our brute force, he thinks. That is another difference with the gambles. And he smiles with satisfaction. When he is at the door, he examines the door locks once more. He also let Devon and Moki return to their normal sizes. The door locks are firm and secure. The way he left them is different to what they really are. They look ordinary, but they are magical locks. Greenwich keys and locks are really different from the other locks. The magical world is really that magic. The locks then return to their original shapes and then the key that Roy gave him opens them. Though to make sure he says the word exposa. Since he has been up all night, he feels exhausted and wants to have a rest. He then stretches his body on his bed and eventually says with a twist of a wand, Kippy. Smoke then envelopes the bed and he vanishes. He is now in the realms of the magical world, sleeping. It takes 10 hours for him to fully recover from the exhaustion that he had undergone in the library. But the first thing that he does is to look at the outside of his home, through the silver bread pan, through the eyes of the animals. He reviews the scenes his pets have seen throughout the night and part of the day that he was asleep. Nothing sinister from his point of view. It will be good to start the day, although it's already noon, and continue reading the four books. The first book is titled Magician's Journey in the Far East. He concentrates his study on this book, since he knows that he is about to depart from Great Britain to the southeast Aragons. Nothing beats the knowledge and wisdom that the first book is imparting to him. He needs those because he is about to become a wanderer. But he will have a great cover in the Aragons and a good source of income while perfecting the dark arts. In his mind, he thinks that of what Argo once said, immortality is our business, and on that we should have our attention and focus. Focus, he says to himself. Just do what you are doing and become excellent at it. Immortality is just around the corner. He also knows that with immortality comes power, and with power, their clan knows that they can rule the wizarding world for good, that they could even declare war with the Gumball's world. But as a policy, he does not like the war thing, either with the wizards or with the Gumballs. He understands that they are costly. Furthermore, war takes their focus off the supposed subject that they would should be perfecting, the search for immortality. Gumballs have their own technologies. They use them too with precision, and they are deadly. Deadlier than what the deceased Lord Grimmer had done to the wizarding world. He knows in the history of the Gumballs about how they use atomic bombs to obliterate Japan and stop the ongoing war of men. Many Japanese wizards of the time lost their lives, and together with them were lost the wisdom and knowledge of the ancient wizardry, particularly the Far Eastern wisdom of wizardry. What a waste, he murmurs to himself. Remembering the wars of men makes him realize that the wizarding world is also at stake. Thus, from time to time, the wizards in the warlocks, like him, intervene in the affairs of men, like gods babysitting the infant men of the world, even if they say that they have responsible leaders. Still, their leaders are deficient in decision making capabilities. Their ideologies make them rigid in approach to situations, like going to war. War per se is not bad. It becomes evil when there is no sense in waging them. He remembers from his discussion with Argo. He continues to relish the first of the four books. Treaty is not mentioned in the book so far, but he can truly comprehend that it is being discussed there. The wizard is observant and reads the books carefully and comprehends them. The books have masters and they can recognize that one of those is him. He knows too that the real master of the four books had long been gone. The Buddhists of the Far East could have written them, but the Taoists of China have a hand too. The letters of the books were written using gold and silver, and they also tend to glow whenever special wisdom or knowledge is understood by the reader. And it seems to agree with him. Did the book discuss religion? Probably not, but he is interested in the wizarding aspects of the book, and there are lots written in it. He tries to comprehend much, and from time to time, he uses one to find out the meaning of the written words, especially those in Hindi, Japanese, or Chinese. So he again consults translations to their language, but in the longer run of reading the four books, he learns the book's language. It becomes easier to read the books as hours goes go by. What is mind-boggling for him is the identity of the master of the books. The master seems to be in control of them despite the fact that the books are already in the Black family's hands. He therefore concludes that the master of the book is somewhere and he still could command the books. That is the most important discovery that he made aside from the Trinity notations. I need to know the identity of the master of these books, he says to himself. It could uncover more wisdom and knowledge for me. This could be the immortality that the clan has been looking for all along. He means the master must be alive and commanding the books. In fact, he's a bit frightened when the books show a reluctance to share some of their written words or records. And because of that, Bobby concludes that the master of the book is still truly commanding them. If such were the case, then he has to translate the books into their own language and make sure that the four original books are hidden and protected. One of these days, he thinks, the true master of the books will come and collect his books. Not a far-fetched idea, he concludes. So that very day, he decides to translate the four books into his own language while he is waiting for the winter to come. This will not be an easy task, since he knows he has to be precise as much as possible in regard to the intended meanings of the written words, or the intended magic of them would be lost. It could even create unintended consequences for the wizarding world. To make sure that his home will be looked up to as one of the most magical and mystical of the clans, he decides to write some verses on the walls and any other fixed spaces that he could find. Nevertheless, he did it using the original texts and not translations. One of the verses that he starts to write on the wall is, "Every wizard and witch who is instructed brings out the new and the old." He supposes then that the old is the one that he writes, for he believes that the four books predate that of Western world's wizardry. He cannot believe his senses. This could be the greatest discovery that he makes about wizardry, the amalgamation of Far Eastern and Western wizardry in him. It was available to his ancestors and Uncle Campbell Black, but they did not live that long to be able to read and understand the content of the books. It really started with the Trinity, he assumes, muttering to himself. As he immerses himself in the translations of the books, he becomes obsessed with them, and as days go by before winter, he forgets himself, but his pets keep on reminding him of the outside world. He is no longer the same. He is a different warlock from then on. When time is about to expire and winter is setting in, he readies himself for the task in front of him. He will certainly go to the Aragons and show the wisdom and knowledge that he acquires from the books via translation. He is able to finish the first book in just in time for the winter to come. It is now the moment to pack his belongings and start to communicate with Argo. This time he will again go to the library and leave a message for Argo to fetch him at the exact time and day. They cannot make mistakes. The Endeavors are after them. This clan is the victor in the concluded war in the west, and some of them are after the Galvaners. There will be no greater transporter for him than Argo. He knows the globe so well, especially the Wizarding World Atlas. No one, as far as Bobby is concerned, is better than Argo. They had done it before. They were younger. When they were younger, they traveled the Wizarding World together, and Argo was the map and the guide. They were never lost and always reached their destinations on time. As a warlock, Bobby cannot use the brooms that they have. The destination is really that far. The magical drone of Argo will be the best transportation, and it will protect them from the elements. The air element is not conducive traveling, especially when moist with water and other chemicals. He decides to use the ice or Uggle's way of communicating with Argo. And as usual, he has to use Mokai for that purpose. Mokai is known to Argo, and he cannot mistake it for other owls since it is a sibling of Master Martin's owl. Although Martin's pet is a celebrity in the West, Mokai is not. But because of his black feathers, he naturally belongs to the black family. The nocturnal bird is three-fourths the age of his master, and it's he who took care of the owl while it was growing. There is a peculiar advantage that Mokai has over Master Martin's owl. It is a friend to ravens because of its black color. If owls are the favorite birds of Western Wizarding World, ravens are favored in some Far Eastern Wizarding worlds, especially Japan. To make sure that the communication will be secured, Bobby decides to have Mokai read the messages and then he leaves him in the library for a while. When Argo goes to the library to find some updates about the Wizarding World, comes across Mokai. He knows that there's a message for him from Bobby through Mokai. Hmm, says Argo to himself and to Mokai. It cannot be mistaken the owl in the cage is in the library. He looks at Mokoi's eyes, and the owl then transmits the message that it read from Bobby. December 24 will be the date of the departure, just in time for Christmas to set in the Far East. And the exact time will be 10 p.m. We go then. Argo conveys it to Mokoi so that the owl could transmit the message to Bobby. At exactly 10 p.m. that night, Bobby comes back to the library to fetch Mokoi. He did not hide the owl from public, but let them see it as they pleased. Nevertheless, he is also cautious and reserved to non-magical people who saw him. In no time, or 8 minutes to be exact, he is at his home. Devon is still watching the place, and none dared to enter. The black dog is still the best guard out there. That made him secure in his home. He immediately gives food to his pets and makes sure that they are comfortable. The pets must be in the peak of health when they travel. It is a long journey for them. No train to transport them but simply Argo's magical drone. After feeding the pets, he decides to look into the four books. The first book has been finished, and then there are the other three books, but he knows they cannot start another one and finish it on time before they leave for the Aragon's realm. Finish.
Yeah. Grabe, chapter 2 pa lang yun. And it feels like it's one of the turning points. I would say
Yeah,
every chapter is actually a turning point in the book. No?
yeah.
Oo. So, ayun, parang it makes me feel like, because this was like 30 years ago. 30 years. Okay. I want to know what's your inspiration in writing this book?
Uh, of course,
Kasi
they,
sabi dito, no, marami kang nababasang libro while you were studying in the university.
yes, yes. I remember one of my professors in literature,
Hmm.
just like you, he asked me to read in front of
Okay.
the class.
Oo. Did you enjoy
Uh,
it?
uh, uh,
Ah.
there was a word that I was not able to translate into uh, to voice out, no?
Mm-mm.
Yung it's a German word actually.
Mm-mm.
So some classmates helped me on that. That's a turning point in my reading habits.
Mm-mm. Okay.
Yeah,
No wonder, there are some words that are difficult to pronounce here, but you did it well.
yeah.
I
Thank
don't think
you.
I don't think I would have executed that like how you did it, but anyway, you did it. And because sometimes, like a lot of people, they learn, or actually, they just read through their like in their head. So hindi talaga nila voice out. So when once they voice out, whatever it is, or pag may mahirap na text or word, parang okay, mali pala yung pronunciation na yon. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's also a reminder for me na okay, I have to do that. So your inspiration is one of your
Professor.
professor. So
Yeah.
okay, bakit? Ano ba, nagsusulat siya ganyan?
No,
Mm-mm.
he made me realize the importance of reading.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Ayun.
Uh, you know, in high school, I read books, no?
Mm-mm.
But not as exhaustive during college, after college, and right now.
Mm-mm.
Before, uh, ang habit ko kasi kahit sa klase, nagre-read ako ng book outside of my topics.
Mm-mm.
Gano'n ako, kahit sa library makita mo ako, wala ako dun sa ano namin eh, sa subjects eh, nasa iba. Ah,
Mm-mm.
if I can remember it right, nasa sixth floor yung sa UST library, nasa sixth floor yung mga religion books. So
Mm-mm.
I was
Mm-mm.
looking for St. Thomas books, yung Summa Theologica. Ayun. Oh, yun.
Oo.
Ah, nandoon ako, wala ako sa third floor. sa
Ah.
sa AB, sa liberal arts, no. Nandoon ako. So that's how I expand yung knowledge ko.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, kasi to be able to write a book na let's say 400-page book, and not just the thickness, because anyone can write a 400-page book, but a book na sobrang siksik, and with a lot of turns and twist, medyo mahirap yun i-execute, no? And especially it was approved by a UK publisher. I mean, it means that it is a very quality book. Ayan, meron nga ditong comment, si Janina Rabara, nakakaintriga ang book mo. Pwede po ba mag-order ng signed book?
Of course.
Pwede. Of course. Of course, nakaka-intriga talaga 'to. Ayan. May book 2 ba 'to or is it a standalone novel?
We're looking for a prequel, no?
Mm.
Right
Okay,
now,
prequel.
standalone siya. Pero pwede naman lagyan ng prequel eh. Kasi how they got the 4 books, pwede mo pang embellish yung part na yon since galing siya sa east. And if
Mm.
you would, at siyempre, no, west sila, tapos pumunta sa
Mm.
southeast.
Oo.
So now, may mamimit sa mga tao na, you know, uh, pwede natin expound
Mm.
yung mga parts na yun.
Oo, ayun. Ayun. And then na-mention mo rin kanina while you were reading the book, kahit sa wizarding world, meron ding culture, meron ding sariling tradition. Like in Japan, as you mentioned, yung preferred pet nila is yung raven. So ayan, oh, 'di ba? So parang ano talaga siya, it's a very realistic take on a fantasy book na about sa wizard and witches and the like. So okay, so Romel, I really want to talk to you more about this book. Pero we've been here since 5 p.m.
Yes.
Perhaps we have to proceed towards the next part, which is towards the end. But again, I want to remind people or everyone who are watching, you can get the book, a copy of the book, on our website. It's only 990. So just check or type in 8lettersbooks.com/shop. And you may just search Bobby Black, the Grand Warlock of Great Britain by R.R. Knight. So it's only 990 for a 400-page book. So sobrang sulit. Ayan, sobrang sulit. It's a good quality book. Yeah, we're very proud of publishing this book here in the Philippines. So, R.R. Knight, also known as Romel, do you have any words for our audience?
Um, I do believe yung mga nanonood ngayon, gusto rin magsulat.
Mhm.
Sa
Yeah.
kanila, Kasi usually, yung mga authors, sumusunod din sa ibang authors eh.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can I mention a name? Halimbawa,
Who's-
Tom Clancy, sinusundan ko siya. So, yung mga
Mm-mm.
books niya, sinusundan ko. Yung mga tips nila sa pagsusulat, ganun din. Nasasabi natin sa iba na if you really want to read and write, kasi hindi po pwedeng puro observe, kailangan makapag-execute kayo
Mm-mm.
palabas eh.
Right.
Sulat lang. Andiyan dyan naman yung mga katulad ni Ma'am, editor, pwede sila mag-edit. Di ba?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, malaking bagay po yun, yung pag-edit ng books. So, hindi nila pababayaan na kahit papaano lang yung books. Nakita ko din may mga schooling, may mga
Mhm.
lessons sa 8 letters, no? Sa
Oh, yes. That's
8 circle, tama ba?
mm-mm.
Yeah.
Eight Circles and Eight Letters Publishing University.
Yeah. I'm so happy merong ganun, Wala pa lang akong time para mag-enroll din. I really want
Mm-mm.
to enroll, no? Kasi hindi naman tayo perfect kaagad eh.
Grabe,
So,
perfect na kaya tong book na to. Siguro, can you give us tips, to those people or to those writers na they want to approach an international publisher? Paano ba? Or kahit sabihin mo na lang natin, medyo, if you can give us tips, hindi na siguro necessarily kung paano ba kasi medyo iba-iba rin kasi yung process nila eh.
yes. Una, maraming publishers sa internet, no?
Mm-mm.
Pero, siyempre, ingat din sa sa pagbibigay ng manuscript. Kasi, siyempre, pinaghirapan mo yan eh, yung
Mm-mm.
manuscript mo. Now, pagka nag-edit sila, huwag ka ma-offend. Yes, kasi may iba, parang, pag na-edit yung ginagawa nila, parang nawawalan ng courage, no? To continue.
Mm-mm.
Kasama po yun eh. Pag sabi nila, wag mo na isama ito, hindi maganda. Ito medyo offensive dito sa ibang tao, tanggalin natin. So,
Mm-mm.
that's what editors do, no? So,
Mm-mm.
una yon. Ngayon, and at the same time, yung mga cover letters, kailangan maganda din. I would suggest maging humble tayo kahit nakatapos tayo ng libro. Although it's an achievement, no? Pero humility works talaga eh. There are books na sinasabi nila kahit hindi sa religion, humility works sa interactions with people. So that's one. That's also, second. So, yun yung mga ano. And of course, polish your work.
Mm-mm. Right.
Yeah. Pabalik-balik talaga yan.
Mm-mm.
Siguro, in fact, may nagsabi sa akin, there should be at least 5 pairs of eyes to look at your manuscript. Kasi hindi talaga lahat nakikita yung ginawa mo parang tama eh. Pero when somebody else look na mas marunong sa'yo sa English, sa grammar, nakikita niya, I think you have to check on this, check on that,
Mm-hmm.
tapos check your facts. Kahit fiction, checkin mo pa rin yung facts mo eh.
Oo, oo. Kasi may mga hindi magka-connect. Okay, so ulitin ko lang, no? They really have to work on the cover letter, yung pag-pitch, dapat maganda. You have to stay
Polish.
humble, and polish your work. Polish your work. Kasi hindi rin, coming from a publisher's point of view, we just read maybe the first paragraph, and reading the first paragraph and then parang meh na. Parang hindi na namin kino-continue. Like, kasi we have tons of manuscripts to work on, and, we don't want to waste our time further. So, yun. Yun ang tips for you guys. Okay, it doesn't matter kung gaano siya kakapal. Kung yung first paragraph or yung opening mo pa lang, medyo problematic na. Medyo hindi na namin yun pag-aksaya ng panahon. But yes, for a work like yours, Romel, also known as RR Knight, this is a very much I think this is the book that one collectible, I would say ito dapat yung maging laman ng mga library natin dito sa Pilipinas, because like it has a lot of references pagdating sa like all over the world. And it's one of its kind for now. For now at least. Yun. So I'm not sure kung may susunod pa ba sa mga yapak mo, but anyway, for only 990, you can get this book. Yan, maganda siya. Okay, it's a quality book. I cannot highlight it further, but yun lang.
Cindy,
So,
physical-wise yung book, gustong-gusto ko yung cover eh. Yung thickness ng cover niya. I really like it. And I love it. Yung cover niya. Hindi basta-basta masisira yung libro eh.
oo. True. Oo, ayan. Oo, matibay siya. Makapal siya. I think it's 350 GSM. And
Wow.
350 GSM. So, yeah, hindi siya ganun ka basta masisira. So, yun. Yes, so I guess that's the end of the show. It's 5:54 Sunday, and we hope to have you here again, Romel, with your next book, and especially those books na from your German publisher.
Yeah. I'm rewriting it actually.
Mm-mm.
I'm taking out the names and the nations that were not put in good light. So, para maging fantasy siya, no? But actually, if you look at the previous books, makikita mo kung sino talaga sila. It's a fault to a degree kasi pinagbasehan ko Bible.
Ako, patay tayo dyan.
Ayun, so gusto ko na ihiwalay ng content na doon sa alam mo naman yung Bible, medyo talagang controversial na book yan eh.
Controversial, and at the same time, with the people nowadays, madali lang tayo mapunta sa cancel culture.
Yes.
Oh, and then if you put something on a bad light, nako. So that is one of the responsibilities being a writer then. So you don't just publish, write and publish. Kahit napakadali na lang ngayon, it's so accessible. You need to find that balance na you don't, I mean, mahirap din naman pag hindi ka naka-offend ng tao. The thing is, this is another topic to on another day. No, whether to go offend that or you can have a way around it. Yeah, way around. Paano ba? Like you can still keep it, but then you do it gently.
I'll give a tip, no? Ang
Mm.
pinakamagaling magtago niyan si J.R.R. Tolkien, eh. Wala siyang
Ah,
the orcs, hindi mo alam kung sino yung mga orcs na yun, eh. Pero
sobrang
masamang-masama sila ron, di ba?
oo, oo, oo. Like
Pero,
hindi mo sila maka-compare to another nation or to
oh,
another
yeah,
nationality. So yun.
yes, yes.
Siguro
It's a
ganun. Galingan mo na lang sa pagtatago.
tinago niya ng gusto yun. I think, I
Ay,
think.
ganda nun. Yeah, that's a good tip. Ayan. So, yes, thank you so much, Romel.
Yeah.
Versus, sorry, AKA RR Knight. Okay, Romel, RR Knight. Okay, thank you so much, Romel. And once again, I'm really looking forward to your next book and hope to see you again for all of our viewers here next weekend. I think we're going to launch some more books this October. You're the first
Ah,
one.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank you, Romel.
congratulations, Cindy, sa
Oh,
8 letters and 8 circles.
ay, salamat, salamat. Okay, marami pa tayong gagawin. Ayun. Thank you. Paalam. Goodbye.
Paalam.